Since it's our day for read, I thought I should probably also read you a story since you're going to read Flat Miss Fritz's story and Flat Miss Rungia's story. The story I chose is called Ming Ling, and it's written by Stephen Cosgrove, illustrated by Robin James. And of course, it's about a panda. Farther than far, in the middle of a crystal sea, was the fantasy island called Serendipity. West of west and east of east lies the forever forest called the Panda Pines. In this forest of rains, delight grow plants in great profusion. Rice nut trees and bamboo thickets shimmer in the magical mists that surround the panda pines. Sounds like a nice place. As you could well imagine, this forest of bamboo provided a marvelous shelter for feathered birds of every kind, including cockatiels and cockatoos, and even a pair of parrots. All of them would flutter and flitter above and about the thicket, chittering and chattering their melodic songs. Other than the birds, the only other creature that lived in the thicket was a rumbly, grumbly panda bear called Ming Ling. Ming Ling wasn't grouchy by nature, but she had two passions in life: to eat and sleep. As far as she was concerned, the birds of the thicket were getting more than their share of both. For it seems the birds ate all of the pine nuts that Ming Ling just loved to eat. After eating, they would sit in the trees and sing at the top of their feathery lungs, which would wake and frustrate the poor hungry panda even more. One special morning, when it would have felt so good just to sleep another hour or two, the birds started singing and flapping their wings against the bamboo leaves, making the loudest racket you have ever heard. With a ruff and a woof, Ming Ling was woken from a deep sleep. "Why can't they wake up when I wake up?" she grumbled as she rubbed the sleep from her eyes. "What I need is a bird who will talk when I talk, eat when I eat, and most of all, sleep when I sleep." With that, she sat back on her haunches and roared to the trees and scared a bird or two. Ming Ling just knew she was going to have another bad day. Because she couldn't sleep or eat all that she wished, Ming Ling became more and more cranky. She would stomp about looking for pine nuts to eat, getting grumblier and grumblier. Finally, when she would be just as cranky as she could be, the birds would start to sing a happy song. In a furious rage, Ming Ling would grab the thicket in her mighty paws and shake and shake. Ming Ling was so bearish that she began chasing and snapping at them with her teeth. She never caught one and probably wouldn't know what to do if she did, but once or twice a bird's happy fluttering turned into frightened flittering, and a feather or two graced Ming Ling's mouth as the bird flew away. One day, all of the birds, including the cockatiels and twos, decided that they could stand no more. They packed up their nests and together they all flew away. The silence that followed was like a golden blanket to Ming Ling, who wrapped herself in the delicious lack of sound. Quietly and with a peaceful reserve, she ate and ate tender bamboo shoots and leaves. It was so absolutely still that she almost had to giggle once or twice, but didn't, for that would have broken the warm, gentle stillness of the day. It was so perfectly quiet that when she finished eating her fill, she curled into a soft, furry ball, and with no one or no bird to distract her, fell fast asleep. Minutes turned to hours, turned to days, turned to weeks, and suddenly the peace and quiet of the thicket began to press on Ming Ling's ears. Just as the birds had made too much noise, the silence, like a damp shawl, hung heavy on her shoulders. She wandered throughout the thicket, searching high and low for even one of the birds, but none could be found. Finally, as Ming Ling had given up, resolved to her fate, she spied a rather plump red parrot sitting on a branch of bamboo. She looked at the parrot looked at her. Neither spoke a word. Finally, Ming Ling could take the silence no more and eagerly said, "Do you speak?" The parrot cocked its head to one side and squawked, "Do you speak?" Ming Ling slowly scratched her head and said, "Well, of course, but do you speak?" The parrot paced from one end of the branch to the other and said, "Well, of course, do you speak?" Ming Ling growled, "You're being silly." And then the parrot growled, "You're being silly." Ming Ling's eyes opened in wide amazement. She had found the perfect bird, a bird who would sleep when she slept and talk when she talked the words she loved to hear, her own. "This is perfect," she thought to herself. "This is my kind of bird." Ming Ling began to slowly walk beside the tree as the parrot mimicked her every move. "Panda bears are great," she snickered right out loud. The parrot, true to his name, snickered right out loud, "Panda bears are great." "And Ming Ling is the greatest," she laughed into her furry paw. "And Ming Ling is the greatest," the parrot laughed into its feathered wing. With a smile as wide as the panda pines, Ming Ling, with the parrot waddling right behind, giggled her way into the forest. The next day, after the sun had been up for an hour or more, Ming Ling stretched out in the warm leaves that were her nest. "What a gorgeous morning," she yawned. Right above her head, she heard feathers rustling and a squawking voice yawn, "What a gorgeous morning." And so it went from day to day, with Ming Ling talking on and the bird parroting her every word. As the days wore on, Ming Ling was getting just a little bit upset about their conversations. It seemed like they talked on throughout the day, but it didn't seem that the parrot was adding anything at all. Finally, one afternoon, Ming Ling loudly shouted, "You dumb creature! Why don't you climb a tree and sing or something?" The parrot, with feathers fluffed and ruffled, shouted just as loudly, "You dumb creature! Why don't you climb a tree and sing or something?" Ming Ling's eyes widened with anger, and she roared, "If you repeat me one more time, I'll eat you for dessert, you ball of feathered fluff." For the first time, her statement wasn't repeated. The air was thick with silence. The parrot fluttered up into a tree and looked down at the confused panda bear. "What do you want, panda bear? First you want silence, then you don't, then you do, now you don't." Sheepishly, Ming Ling sat and gazed at the ground. "I don't know. I thought I wanted it quiet, but that was boring. Then I thought I just wanted to hear someone talk when I talked, and now I don't know what I want." She paused, deep in thought. "Maybe if the birds all came back—" "Well," said the parrot, "they'll never come back if all you're going to do is roar at them." "Yeah, but they make so much noise, and I need a lot of sleep." The parrot thought out loud. "With a bit of cooperation and a pinch of compromise, I think you can both survive." That very day, all the birds, the cockatiels and the cockatoos, came flittering back to the panda pines. From then on, Whenever Mingling wished for silence, she did nothing more than stuff bamboo leaves into her ears. The birds were so happy singing without interruption that they would carry great piles of pine nuts and tender bamboo shoots for her to eat when she woke up from Mingling afternoon naps. And sometimes, when Mingling wasn't looking and couldn't hear, the plump red parrot mimicked her every word. If you live in a forest and you don't know how to share it, just remember Mingling and a very silly parrot. That's a good lesson for all of us because we all have to share the planet with animals. We need to get along. I hope you like my story.